Welcome to this video about hybrid learning with Google Classroom. During the time that we're going through this session, you might want to have a second screen up so that you can try out the different features as we go through. Stop and start this video as often as you need to explore the features that are being discussed. I'm Lori Guion. You can reach me at lguion@wishwebosies.org. I am the coordinator for Model Schools, and you can also find me on Twitter. So what is good about Google Classroom? What do we love about Google Classroom already? It does help us with flexibility, with communication, with scaffolding, and it even can really help with organization. There are some key areas to make all of this workflow kind of work though, and it really has to do with how you set it up, how you grade, how you use any extensions or other apps or G Suite tools, and how you collaborate within Google Classroom. And this really is something that is personable to just you and how you work with your students. But we're going to start with some of the basics with setting up. First of all, there are some really cool ideas to kind of help organize your Google Classroom for students. One of them is to try to color code your classes as a team. So if your student is enrolled in 5 or 6 different classes and all of them are blue, that can be very difficult for them to kind of discern which one is which. But if you say all the math teachers use red, all the English teachers use blue, all the science teachers use green, and so on, it will make it a little bit easier for students to kind of see which class is which. Is it necessary? No, but it helps with the organization. Another fun feature that you can do is set up your classroom with Bitmoji headers, and I'm going to walk you through that in just a little bit. You can use different backgrounds. Like I said, color coding does help. And it might be something you want to discuss as a school-wide, grade-wide, or department-wide process on how you set up and use Google Classroom. The more consistency there is within your building or within your grade level or within all the teachers that a student might see, the easier it is for students to actually do the work you want them to get accomplished. So let's talk about that setup with the stream, with Classwork, and even the People tab. And we'll briefly mention the grades a little bit as well. So when we're talking about the stream, you want to use the stream for your basic announcements. For any comments, you might throw a question or something out there that students can collaborate on, and you can organize the items that show up there. And I'm going to come out of this presentation and go into Google Classroom to show you. So I'm going to open up my Google Classroom, and you can see that I have different colors. I have some Bitmoji headers and some that are not. On the top, this is new as of this summer. In 2020, you now have a to-do list, a to-review, and a calendar. Your to-do list is for your students. It's going to showcase all the work that they have coming up that's due for all of their classes. The teachers have a to-review section, and that's for any work that has been handed in, what they need to look at. So it's a one-stop shop for all of the classes you teach. And for every time you create a Google Classroom, it creates a calendar for you. So if you open up the calendar, it's going to show your due dates for any items that you have for any of the classes that are available to you. So your students will have the to-do and the calendar. Teachers will have to-do and calendar. And then if you are a teacher and a student, you'll have all three. To start a new class, you're going to click on the plus in the top right-hand corner of your screen. You can either join a class, that's for your students, or you can create a class. So we're going to create a sample class. You can add in the section, subject, and room if you'd like, but you are required to put in the class name. When you hit create, it takes a moment for it to show up on your screen. Once the classroom is ready, it will open up for you, and you'll be able to see at the top that it says the name. It creates a class code for you, and you can generate a Meet link. And we'll get to that in a little bit. So underneath the image that you see at the top, I'm in the stream. Here again is where you would put in your announcements, and you might respond to student posts. Any upcoming work for the class is going to show up on the left. What you want to do in your stream is go up to the cog in the top right-hand corner of your screen, and you're going to go down to the general section. In the general section, you're going to see an area called stream. What you want to do is decide, and this is individual to your class, whether or not students can post and comment. Students can only comment, or only teachers can post or comment. There are benefits to all of the different ones, and it depends on the grade level you teach and the subject matter, and also how you run your classroom. So some teachers like to have it that students can post and comment, so it gives them a place to ask questions or to respond to information that the teachers put out. Some prefer only comment. That way the teacher has to actually put the prompt and then students can respond to it. And some prefer that only teachers can post or comment. Underneath the stream, you'll see it says Classwork on the stream. Now it defaults to show condensed notifications, but what you probably want to do is hide notifications. That way it keeps the classwork in classwork. It keeps items that are supposed to be in your stream, like your announcements, those sort of things, just in the stream. It's going to clean up that classwork stream, or it's going to clean up that stream for your students so that they know where to go to find the information. You don't want them to always go to the stream. You want them to go into the classwork tab. If you allow students to be able to post and comment, you may want to turn on the show deleted items. That way, if a student wrote something and they deleted it, you'd still have access to that information. Below that is where you can turn on your Meet link. And while I'm here, I'm going to generate that Meet link. And you're going to see that it turns on, that it's visible to all students. Now that I've made changes, I do have to hit the Save button. So the Classwork tab is the next tab over in Google Classroom. This is where you're going to put all of your assignments. Some best practices can be to number your posts using either the hashtag or actually to date them. Some teachers prefer to do it just based in the topics, completely up to you, and we'll talk about those topics. It's also a place where you can create any resources. This is where you want to add your due date so it shows up in the calendar, and it does allow you to differentiate to make copies for each student. So we're going to go into Google Classroom and look at that classwork side, and then we'll get into the rubrics that you see on your screen. So I'm going to click on the Classwork tab, and you're going to see that this is where you assign your work. At the very top, you still have access to your Google Meet. You have access to the Google Calendar that was made for this particular class. And every time you create a Google Classroom, it creates a Google Drive folder for you. Now, this Google Drive folder is great for you to take a look at information, and you can even comment on work that students hand in, but you don't want to delete or change any of the way it's navigated, because it will not then be accessible for students when they go to click on it. So you want to make sure you don't kind of mess with the accessibility of the items you put in your Google Drive. When I click on the Create button, I have several options. I can create an assignment, a quiz assignment, a question, a material, reuse a post, or a topic. Now, I have the Nearpod extension, so I also have Nearpod on here. If you have the Kami extension, that will also show up on here, but we're going to talk about that another time. So let's talk about creating an assignment. Whenever you start an assignment, you need to give it a title. So I'm going to call it Sample Assignment. You might put in your directions, please complete, or whatever it happens to be. And then you have options. Under Add, you can grab anything from your Google Drive, bring in any link from anywhere on the internet, bring in any file from your computer, or add in a YouTube video. If you click Create, you can create a Google Doc, slide, sheet, drawing, or a Google form right within Google Classroom without having to go out. But for now, let's talk about adding items that we already have created. So I'm going to click into my Google Drive, and I'll see all of my recent folders or recent presentations. So I'm actually going to use the one we're using today, and I'm going to insert that. As soon as I insert this Google Slides presentation, I have options. Here I can do students can view file, students can edit file, or make a copy. View just gives them view only. So a resource or something that you want them to just kind of read or look through, view is fine. If you give students edit, they all can edit every page and every item on the document, and they're all doing the same document. So think about if you're giving them a Google Docs where you're having them fill out just some of their favorite things or something, you might want to have that totally collaborative. You could do student edit, but maybe it's not something you want for every assignment. If you do make a copy for each student gets their own fully editable copy. So I'm going to click on that one. Now you can continue to add other items. So let's say I wanted to add in a link, and I wanted them to go out to maybe Wonderopolis.org. I can add in a link. And so now I have the document and I have a website, and you can continue to add however many resources you need. Now on the right-hand side on your screen, under the For, you can see that I can choose to send it to multiple classes. And you can send it to as many or as few classes as you'd like. Once you do that, it does shut down the ability to schedule, and it does shut down the ability to pick certain students. So it's up to you how you want to use this assignment. So if I had students in this class, I would click which students I want, or I can click all students and the items will go in. I can choose how many points this assignment is worth. You want to give your items a due date, even if it's a pretty far out due date, because it does help organize the to-do list for your students. And it's good to put all of your items into a topic. So I'm going to create a topic, and I'm going to call this Google Classroom. Now, you can add in rubrics. You can create rubrics. You can reuse a rubric, or you can import one that you have from Sheets. And then if this is something that they're going to be doing research, you also can check this box and have it check for plagiarism, their originality reports. Now, with the originality reports, if you're on the free G Suite for Education, you only get 5 per class. So think about which items you want to use that on. If you're on the Enterprise, you have unlimited ones. It will check for plagiarism between anything on the internet and also between documents that are handed in from students. Next to the Assign button at the top, there is a down arrow. When you click on that, you can assign, schedule, save a draft, or discard the draft. If you assign it, it goes right away. If I click schedule, I can pick when I want it to show up and what time I want it to show up and click schedule. If I want to save it as a draft, I can save it as a draft and then it will be ready for me whenever I'm ready. Or I can discard and say, you know what, I don't want to send this. I'm going to click assign. Now, let's say I want to use this same activity in another class, but I've already sent it out, so I can't click another class right away. I can always click on create and reuse a post, and I'll have access to all of my classes, including the ones that are archived. So if you use Google Classroom last year and you already have an assignment that you want to reuse, you can grab anything from that class and reuse it. And to do that, so I'm just going to grab one from here. And let's say I want to do this getting to know you one. I click on it, I click reuse. And then it's going to load up that same screen and give me the same options that I had before. So it's fully editable for me. So here I have a sample activity. I'm making a copy for each student. I have my directions. I can choose which students. I have the points. It already is in a topic. If I had a rubric, it would add that in as well. And then I'm going to schedule this post to show up tomorrow. So now when I go back into the stream, because I took it that all classwork would not show up in the stream, you'll see that it's not there. But if I'm in classwork, I can now see the 2 different topics of items that I have. If you have a resource you want the students to always have available to them, you can click on material, add in your title, so this could be your syllabus, and then you can add in your syllabus from wherever you have that located. And you can add this item in. It will only put it in as a view only because it is something that is available to students just for them to view. So here I'm clicking on my syllabus. I hit insert, and you'll see that it does not give me that drop-down option because this is going to be view only for each class. I'm not going to put it in a topic because when I post this material, it's going to stay at the top of my screen. If I put it in a topic, I might have it be something that kind of gets buried down, and I can move these topics up and down depending on the order that I want them to show up. So just some little tips and tricks there. So classwork topics, let's talk about those a little bit more. You can do these as weekly topics, so you can have all of the work that they're going to do for the week in one topic. You can even make them subject specific, whatever works for you. You can change the fonts and add emojis, and you can move them up and down. As far as the workflow goes, it's great to use a daily checklist. You can do that as an item without a topic, as a Google Doc that you can change every day so it stays at the top. Students can bookmark the classwork page. To do that, they're on the classwork page. They click the star that's at the top of their screen. So right next to in the Omni box, that's where you put your web address. You click the star, and then you can choose to put it on your classworks bar or your bookmarks bar. As soon as you do that, it's going to stay on your bookmarks bar. And as soon as you click on it, it opens up to this page. You can also watch your students work collaboratively in real time in Google Slides. So now that we've assigned a Google slide to the students, let's say this was the one that that was assigned to them, at the very bottom of your screen, and I have to minimize mine a little bit so I can get away from the tools here. At the bottom of your screen, I can get to the film strip view that you see at the bottom here. I can make it big now. Or I can switch it to grid view. So if I had students working on different slides, I can have them assigned to a slide, and then I can watch them in real time work through all of these different slides. In Google Docs, you'd have to open up each of the docs to make that happen. Another great feature that you have available to you is Google Keep. And Google Keep always sits at the right-hand side of Google Slides, Google Docs. It's in your Gmail, it's in Calendar. So if it's hidden, you just click the little caret on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and that will come up. Google Keep is the one that looks like Post-it notes, and that's exactly what they are. They're sticky notes that you can take a picture of something, you can write notes on. I'll open up Google Keep for just a quick minute. You can do a whole lesson on Google Keep with me in a different session. But you can see that it takes anything that's in text and it will switch it over into text. You can put in links, you can put in images. This was a to-do list that I had, and I created it into a checklist right in Google Keep. And they can be color-coded, you can make them collaborative, and so on. It's a great place for you to be able to share ideas with others, to be able to collaborate, and keeps your comments kind of from being cluttered on a Google Doc. You can have a shared Google Keep note to have conversations with your students. As far as gradings, please turn on the email parents feature so they can get an assignment summary. That is something that your district might already have done for you. You can make forms editable after they submit so that they can go back and work on it later. You can take the Google Forms course to learn more about that. And there is a comment bank that is built into your Google Classroom. So if I go into the Grades tab, let me go into a class that actually has something in there. If I go into the Grades tab, I have all of the student work listed here on this demo class. If I'm going to grade an assignment, I can click on the three dots. I can click View Submission, and I can see the work that the student has done. And then on the right-hand side, I can give them a grade, and I can add a private comment. If there's a private comment that you do all the time, you can click on the comment bank, and you can create anyone you want. Let's say I want to say great job on this work. I click great job, and then I paste it into the private comments, and then that comment goes back, and I can give her a grade and hit return. Google Meet can be used within Google Classroom. I showed you where it is in the stream. You can toggle it on and off, which is a really great feature. So right now, if I go into my stream, you'll see that my Google Meet is hidden. Right now, you see that little eyeball with the line through it. If I go up to the cog and I go down to stream, just below that, you'll see Meet. If I turn on whether or not it's visible to students and click Save, when you go back into the stream, that Google Meet is now available for students. So you can turn that on or off. In your settings, you can also generate a new Meet link if you feel like you need a fresh one. So let's talk about those add-ons and extensions. So when I'm in my Google Classroom, and you might have noticed this as I was going through, if I go into my Classwork tab, I have all of these topics down the left-hand side, and I have different fonts and I have emojis for different ones. And you'll see as I scroll down through all the topics, I have different fonts and different emojis that are next to each one. And this is simple to set up. So if I go to this one right here, this is sample assignments. It doesn't have any different fonts or anything along those lines. I click the three dots and I click rename. So what I can do is I'm going to copy this text because I want to keep calling it sample assignments. I'm going to go to a website called coolfont.org. Type in what I want it to say, and then I can pick any different font that I would like to go. Just try to pick something that hopefully students can still read. So I'm going to click copy, and then I'm going to paste that in. and it's going to rename it with the new font. If I want to add in emojis, you have the emoji that's built into your keyboard, or you can use an emoji keyboard Chrome extension. Then you can pick whatever emoji that you would like to be next to your assignment. So here I have the elephant and sample assignments. There are some really great shortcuts that will help you out. Using Control on a Chromebook or Command on a MacBook, and F will help you find things. So if I was out in my Google Classroom and I hit Control F, I can look for something. So I'm going to put in the word sample, and it will show me every time sample shows up on that page, so I can kind of scroll through. So this works for students if they're searching for something on a website. It will help them kind of organize and go through that information. Another great one is Control C for copy or Control V for paste. Control Z will undo, so if they accidentally hit delete, they can hit Control Z and pull it back. If you accidentally close out a tab, hit Shift, Control, and T to reopen a tab, and then Control plus click all files will open them all at once. So you can add teachers to your class under the People tab, and you can create a template for your team so you're all using the same template to make it easier for your students. You can also, like I showed you, put a slide deck at the top for your important notes. And I'm not going to read all these to you. You have access to the slide deck. You can take a look at some of the great tips from teachers on social media. And I'm just sharing some of my favorite app smashes that you can do. So if you have any questions, please reach out. I'm happy to help you with any questions that you have on using Google Classroom in a hybrid model.